explain autism for a person who doesn't know.
Basically, autism is like biologically when you're born, there are different level of autism. There are different level of behaviors. If you see a child, sometimes his eyes are going up when he's listening. So parents get worried. Is it like simple developmental issue or autism? It's mostly like with your brain, biological.
Is it actually true, or is there's more perspectives?
I think people have a lot of misconception about like pagal. When people say like pagal, it's not actually pagal. He or she is not sick, but it's just like things happen. That's what creates a mental health thing.
What's the hardest part emotionally?
Emotionally, sometimes it can be exhausting for yourself, and also behavior issues. When like the ones who are non-verbal, you'll never get when their behavior is gonna be like shoot up
Sudden change.
and they hit you. You never know when their behavior. I have had a lot of bites and hit.
You're strong.
You just need a patience.
So okay, so if something happens to you as an employee, are you covered in
Yes,
short?
yes. People should take therapy. If they think they need help, they should take it.
Hey guys, hello, welcome back to another video. This is your Caps Lock, and today we are back with another podcast. But today we have Tasnoor. First of all, thank you so much.
Hi.
It's fine. Okay? It's gonna be easy, don't worry. She is a little camera shy, which is obviously anyone would be. But we're gonna be probably technically ignoring the camera. We will be talking one-on-one. So Jasnoor has been, I'll tell how I know her. Jasnoor has been in Australia for almost 3 to 4 years, I believe.
7.5 years.
7.5 years, oh my god. So she has a lot to say. She has so many things to explain to the people who are coming. Or one more thing, that she has been in the psychology industry, right, for quite a long time. She has studied in this, and she's working like a support worker, which is, I believe, a government job, or is it like a private job you have this?
It's like like organizations, NGOs,
Okay.
and you work with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be talking about. But before going forward, I want you to, because someone who doesn't know you as a brief, intro to who you are, what you do, how have you been here, how long has it been and all. And just throw some mic there, please. Just press on. Yes. Yeah.
So my name is Jasnoor. I am 25 years old. I came to Australia in 2019. So that means almost I've been here for 7.5 years. And I did my bachelor's in social psychology from RMIT. And then I've started working. I did had some experience working in different mental health organizations here. And yeah, basically my journey has been good. A lot of lonely nights and stuff, but it has been
You
good.
said it's good in lonely nights.
It has been good, but few of lonely nights, but it has been good.
7 years.
7.5.
You have seen COVID here.
I have seen COVID here.
Before going into podcast, I would really want to know that how the time has changed 2-3 years ago when it was COVID, and now you have seen a really big kind of shift, right?
Yeah, because I have seen a lot of growth in myself personally, because when I came, I was 18. Now I'm 25. So when I came here, I had no idea how to talk to people. I had no idea how to engage, have a conversation, or do stuff. I have zero confidence. But slowly, yes, COVID was worse.
Yeah.
Australia has worse COVID. We were at homes. I dropped out from university because I couldn't study online. So I have to do one more extra year to complete that. But a lot has been changed. It has been expensive. Inflation has increased.
Yeah.
And now I see like a lot smarter people are getting into Australia.
No,
I
the
think-
other way, it's a good thing.
Yeah, but like I think when I came, I was very dumb, and Australia gave me a lot of confidence, being alone and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
I literally learned so many things
Yeah.
just being in Australia.
Yeah.
Adding on to that, just want to know more about your study experience, like as in which university did you go? Right now, by the way, we are in RMIT, my main hub to shoot all
Yeah.
the videos. But yeah, like the university, what was your actually degree's name and all everything, like basic details.
So I did Bachelor of Social Science Psychology
Yeah.
from RMIT. Yeah. So it was like a 3 years course I did. And I was always interested in psychology when I did in my +1 and +2. So I had a psychology when I read like disorders and mental health. I was very attracted towards it. So I never even aimed to came to Australia. Like I just told my family that I want to pursue psychology from India somewhere. but they were like, no, we are not sending you outside of your home country. So
Same.
that's why I don't even know how I reached here, but it has been a good. And then I did my 3 years in RMID. It was very tough. Assignments were tough, and I had like no Indians in my class that time. And we did have RMIT Indian Club, but I was like not that confident to go out and make friends. I used to go on events, but I couldn't like actually make friends. So my almost university life was being alone, like just, and I couldn't really.
Because you didn't have Moma at that time.
Yeah. Oh, that's good integration.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
One more thing. I have made a podcast on a topic of Bachelor's of Psychology before with a girl, and she has mentioned some things, and she said she was doing her elective specialization in criminology, and then how she pursued the things going forward. Would love to know what was your specialization, like how.
Honestly, I haven't done specialization yet, because I'm trying to get my PR first because it's expensive and I can't afford it. But I have gotten a kind of experience working in the field, because even before coming to Australia, I did work in a mental health hospital. I did my internships. So different mental health hospitals for like almost a year. And when I came here, I started like, even in university, I started like with volunteering, help the students here with disabilities, helping them to study and stuff. And then I started working as a sport worker. And so I have a lot of experience, but I haven't done any specialization, but I have finalized to do clinical uh, in a mental health hospital. I'll be doing that, or either I'll be doing child psychology. Like I am very much fond of counseling. So I do counseling at like personal levels, but once I get my PR, I will be going.
You want to go into this particular field in the
Yes.
future? Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense. Now, coming back, so now you heard who she is. Now I know way better what you
Yeah.
have done. Strong question. When people hear mental health support worker, right? What do they usually get wrong about this job? Like I thought it would be, or a person, general person might think that this is something related to disabled people, or maybe think something related to a person has a condition who's mentally ill. Is it actually true, or is there's more perspectives?
Yeah, they like I think people have a lot of misconception about like pagal, when people say like pagal, like, but it's not actually pagal.
Like the guy is not sick.
He's not sick. He or she is not sick, but it's just like their brain wirings get like things happen
Biologically.
yes. So that's what creates a mental health thing. For example, and yes, your life circumstances as well. Because for example, when I was doing internship in a mental health hospital in India, I had the patients admitted were with like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, delusion, hallucinations.
Oh my god.
So
Same person or like multiple?
like different people, like some were with drug abuse and stuff. Of course, yes, first biological violence, second circumstances, situations. Yes, we ourselves, we might be having anxiety almost every day.
Yeah.
So it's not actually being sick, it's actually being why I love this. Yeah, I love this mental health field, that you can actually go out and get help. It's just about talking and getting perspective, like everything will be okay. We say normally like everything will be okay, but to understand it to a better level, it's like a professional thing.
And at what particular end did you think that, okay, this career path as an international student would be the best? Or is it, or do you have more plans to go beyond this?
I do have more plans.
Okay.
Like once once I get my PR, I'll be studying more. I'll have my more like study, and then I'll get my license. I'll get myself registered as a psychologist, and then I'll be doing counseling, because I'm more lean towards child psychology and counseling.
Okay.
So I want to do that. So I'm definitely going to do that.
Okay. What kind of people do you work with in your this job?
So I work as a mental health support worker. It's been more than 2.5 years I've been doing that. I work mostly with kids that have autism. So there's a different level of autism that kids have, and it's very common, especially in Australia.
I've also noticed.
Yeah, 80% of, like, if people have 2 kids, one of them is autistic. So
Might. Or is
uh,
might be, or is there actually? No, there might be.
I have seen actually like 80% of the kids are autistic. Yeah, and
Explain autism for a person who doesn't know autistic. What does that mean?
basically autism is like biologically when you're born. It's your brain. So there are different level of autism. There are different level of behaviors. So if you see a child sometimes, when people start, like parents see like, his eyes are going up when he's listening, or he's not responding when they're calling his name. So parents get worried. Is it like simple developmental issue or autism? Sometimes it's from biological, like you can't have any exact reason behind it. They get diagnosed, professional diagnosed, and sometimes it's autism. It's just brain. Like during pregnancy or something, it's just your biological. There's never exact reason behind autism.
It's common thing.
That's why it's common. Like normally, children get diagnosed at like 4-5 years of age. Because until 4-5, parents think like maybe it's just a developmental thing. They might like develop later or walk late or like talk or do. But when they start showing a lot of behaviors, then they get diagnosed. So there's not like exact reason behind it, which I have been working. I know it's mostly like with your brain, biological, either with pregnancy or before pregnancy, during pregnancy, something like that.
And is it curable?
It's actually not an issue. It's not actually an issue.
It's not a problem. Right?
It's not a problem.
Disease.
No, it's not a disease.
It's a condition.
It's a condition which, so for example, if like I work as a sport worker with autistic kids, it's like basically help them to understand their behaviors, to like help them become independent. So just support them with their decisions, just help them understand, evaluate their behavior, because it's not something to be curable. And with from like 5 years to 16 years, you'll see a behavior change. And I have mostly autistic kids that are nonverbal, so they don't speak, so they can't express what they're feeling. And for that, then it comes like, so speech psychologist, behavior psychologist, occupational therapist. So all of them then work together with the kid to help him grow. It's not curable, it's just giving him a way of life, him or her, to live a life.
So you are saying a normal, I see both are normal. A child needs external support
Yes.
to understand and have decisions.
Additional
That's
assistance.
a condition, and
Yes.
that's called autism.
Yes.
This can be verbal delay. This can be understanding the
yeah. It's
colors.
like, yeah, most of them are nonverbal. They don't develop speech. First of the sign of autism is like behavior issues, and they don't develop a speech.
Yeah.
Then once start they growing older, once they are diagnosed, then speech therapists work with them. And I have seen nonverbal kids started speaking. So
That's a
yeah,
good thing.
yeah, because so many people work together to help
On
their
that
child,
topic.
to help the child grow. And government here pays for it. For autistic kids, government here actually has many programs, especially for autistic kids, because it's high end.
Because I have heard about a association name Australian Uniting, right? And that's, I've seen employees working, especially like they focus on other children as well in the room, but they mainly focus on the one which they are mainly paid for, especially in the center. Like they're outside employees, and then they come in the center, and then they particularly focus and try to help that particular side to make decisions.
Yes.
Or maybe speak.
Yeah. So
You're doing a good job.
Yeah, I have worked from, I have like a age group from 8 years, 9 years, 10, and my oldest one is 17. The 17-year-old I have been working from 1 year, like consistent, and I have seen so many changes in her. Like just work because I was the first sport worker she got in 16 years. And
16 years.
like she didn't had any sport from last 16 years. Then I was the first sport worker with her, so I've seen her getting some verbal and how she enjoys my company. I love that. And she communicates with me. She expresses her emotions. She's getting more independent in like personal because I used to help a lot in personal hygiene, but now she's getting more independent. She knows it. She knows, okay, this is the car, this is the door, this is the traffic, this is the light. She's getting more into those things. So yeah. Speech for some it takes time, for some they do develop.
Depends on, it's really subjective, right?
Yeah, it's same as like because every person is different, so every child is different. Their growth is different.
Yes.
So if you work in childcare, you might go see like parents get worried like, oh, he's not walking or he's not speaking yet. But it's just every child
It's
develops.
also your or the teacher's job to let the parents know, and then they call the externals.
Normally what happens is if we go from
Tell me the roadmap. How
yeah,
does it
if what happens if a child goes to a childcare,
Okay.
educators might note, because educators do like planning and
Voting,
stuff. Yeah, they do stuff. They might have a meeting with parents. They might discuss, okay, these are the things. But again, they wait till 4 or 5 years of age because they have a hope it might
Develop, yeah.
before going to schools, like after
So 0 to 5.
before going to schools. And if they see, then I think the childcare centers like advise them if you want to do it. If sometimes parents notice by themselves, they'll go and get them diagnosed. And then they started having like therapies and psychologists, everything that will help them to give them a map to how to build that child, like help that child for it. Even in India, we with my mental health hospital, we had a visit to a school which had like all autistic kids, and it was very nice. They were like studying and they get happy, but they're nonverbal, so they just smile and show you, oh, we are happy. So
When a child support worker comes into the center, does the government provide you the fees, or the parents has to pay the extra fees?
so because I work with the organization, so I'm not working. Some people work independently with families. So government has a NDIS program, that is National Disability Scheme, that the parents apply, like the ones who needed support, they apply, and then they see, NDIS sees like how much funding they have to get. So NDIS provides them funding like for a year with their all the reports and stuff. They see, okay, this much funding might be required for this client if is physical disability or mental. And then some parents try to find independent sport workers. So government pays them with the funding and then they pay the sport worker. But I work with organizations, so organization pays me. So that means they have their own way of dealing.
So you don't need to directly deal to the government. They have a management team.
Yeah, organization does that because they have like case managers, they have sport coordinators, and I work on like client level, but back of hand there are like case managers, sport coordinators, and everyone who manages the funding, how much money is coming, how much we need. If they think like this 1 year funding is not enough, because when NDS program develops, they write some goals for that client. So they have a 1 year goal. Okay, we are starting from this, we have to achieve this. So if they see with the time period that we are not actually achieving those goals, then the sport coordinators or the team has to file more funding with all the evidence like, look, this what has, and we need more funding because we have not reached our goals. So if they feel like, okay, that's reliable, like they are saying true, then they will give them more funding for more 1 year. So that's how it goes. If they feel like, okay, their goals are met, they might not need that much funding, then NDIs can cut their funding if they still need a sport worker. But some people stop taking sport if they have met their goals, like maybe after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then they stop taking sport and government stops paying them. Like NDIs, because you have to provide all the documents,
So
all
they
the
verify, they check.
yeah, they verify because like just now they're having a lot of fraud happening as well.
So in the name of conditions of the
Yeah,
children,
like
they're getting
They were,
scammed.
yeah, even some middleman, like what we say middleman, like with client and the government,
The broker.
try to have like some fraud and stuff. So they
That's bad.
that's why they made it more strict. That's why they like verify more so that they can actually give help who need it. Then
Obviously they have to, because otherwise people will keep on using their
yeah,
assets in a
yeah,
fund.
yeah. If they just get the funding and they don't actually need it, it would just go in a waste rather than who actually needs the sport.
Anyway, pay wise, if it's up to you if you want to reveal it or no, but just want to know how much a person ends up earning as a support worker.
It's actually a good pay.
Is
It
it?
is, yeah.
It's up to you if you want to talk about yours, but in
Uh,
general, what's the number?
Yeah, because I work as a casual.
Mm.
I'm not really sure about perm because normally for sport worker you rarely gets full time or a part time because the funding and things keep getting changing. So for casual, and every organization have different pay rates.
Yes.
So when I started working, it was 35 per hour. Then I worked 37 per hour. Now I'm working 45 per hour. So that's weekdays, and then weekends it's like more, and then public holidays it's like up to 100, 120.
That's the reason why she's just finished her shopping before coming here.
No, that's not true.
No, I was just joking. What does a typical day as a mental health support worker actually look like the whole day?
So for example, for tomorrow, I have 3 shifts. So I have like, because with that you have like, I do smaller shifts. I don't do, there's a like difference. As a sport worker also works in SIL homes that are called sport independent living homes. So they have longer shifts. That homes have like 3 to 4 old disabled people, and there are 2-3 sport workers that work there for like 12-hour shift, giving them medication and helping. But I work smaller shift as a community participation. So my role is basically helping those kids, helping them take out in community, help them how to interact in community and feel them more independent and belong there. So I do before school and after school shifts. So like for tomorrow, I have before school that involves the one I have before school. She's not mentally, but she's physically disabled. So I help her getting ready for school.
Yeah.
And play with her for time being until she's ready, and then drop her to the school. And then I have one that is after school, picking her up from the school and helping her drive home, helping the personal hygiene, take her for like, help her do physical activity, to help her like maybe go for a walk or exercises. Yeah, no, something.
No, I'm listening. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then after school involves that. It also depends upon what parents want you to do. If the parents have something specific for that day, so they tell me like, okay, this is what I want you to do today with her. But normally after school is like picking her up, helping her with personal hygiene, helping her like if we came home, helping her become more independent while cooking, just support her and try to encourage her to cook because she's 17, 18. She should be cooking by now. Like she should know how to cook, pick her dishes up, wash her dishes. So helping her becoming supporting that.
You said a line, helping to drive.
No, I drive her from school to home.
Oh yeah.
No.
I was like, yeah.
No. Help her drive.
That won't be safe, right?
Yeah. They won't let me do that.
Yes. What's the most rewarding part of this job?
Oh, when you see them being so happy and safe, and you see them actually developing, it makes you happy because you feel like
You added something.
I did something good. And because I have my parents give you a very good review. Parents say like, oh, when parents demand you, like they say organization to send you for the shifts because that kid is so comfortable. That just makes me happy because this happened with me in last 6 months. They just keep calling me, can you pick this shift? Can you pick this shift? I'm like, I can't pick so many shifts at once. Like they were like,
how many matches do you get?
sorry.
How many matches do you pick?
So like in one day I can pick 3 shifts, like because there are like 3-hour shifts. So and the timings clash. So that makes me happy when they want me to come back and they demand me. So I feel like that means I have done something good.
Obviously.
That
That's why they want you more again.
more, yeah. So I think that's the most
And the
important
hardest part?
part. Hardest part are the behavior.
Emotionally. What's the hardest part emotionally?
Emotionally, sometimes it can be exhausting. Yours for yourself, like
Too much effort.
too much, yeah. And also behavior issues when, like, for example, if I'm taking them, that happened to me with like once or twice, the ones who are non-verbal, I took them in community, I took them, they can have, you'll never get when they're gonna, behavior is gonna be like shoot up
Sudden change.
and they hate you, they
Oh,
bite you, yeah, they do. So
that's the hardest part for
that is the hardest part. So you need a lot of patience for that situation. You might, because if you don't have patience, you might be like, you can't survive that. I had that experience once. I took a 10-year-old, I was taking her to the park. There was a wind blowing out and she got agitated. She got angry. And I tried to calm her down, but she started punching me, like hitting me, bite me. Then I have to take a breath and I'm like, I try to calm her down, make her sit in the car, give her space. That's how you never know when they're behaving. I have had a lot of bites and hit.
You're strong.
Yeah. You just need a patience.
But see,
Deal.
so okay, so if something happens to you as an employee, are you covered in short?
Yes. We are.
And has it ever happened that you are thinking, okay, now the condition is getting out of hands, I need to call the ambulance or something?
Till now, it hasn't happened.
But does it happen usually with people?
It
With the
does.
workers?
It does. Because they train us for that. If you're just one-on-one, because sometimes if there are a lot of behavior issues, they have like 2-to-1. There are 2 sport workers for 1 client. But if it's like 1-to-1, and if they say if sometimes they get lost, maybe you're in community, they get lost or something adverse happens, you have to call ambulance. It has happened to people. There was a one sport worker with 1 client out and they lost the client. So they have to call like police and stuff. So it does happen. Because their behavior, you never know where it's going to shoot up and they'll just run
Just
away.
to have the be prepared, right?
Yes, you have to.
Might see that maybe.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Science, man. Now it's better. Okay. A lot of students study psychology. Yes. What can people realistically do while doing this bachelor so that they can have a better future?
I
Work-wise and
think
everything.
volunteer with organizations like any in Australia. There are like child protection, family violence. This you can also like work as, while you're studying psychology. If you do your certificate 3 in individual sport disability, you can also work as a sport worker. And you start working as a sport worker, you get more knowledge, and you can volunteer with organizations and NGOs and in anything you like. There are like men's health, women health, family violence. Yeah, like mostly it's like volunteer. Start doing it, and then you get more idea while you are doing it.
And while you're doing it, or even after that, what kind of skills from psychology do you think it's required? Except patience, skills.
You
For this
have to
job or
be
for
a
the
good
jobs.
communicator, like good communicator. You have to be
Patience, obviously.
patience. Yes, you have to be a passive listener. You have to be non-judgmental, and you should know how to keep the boundaries. Ish, that's
So like
these-
when to stop.
yeah, those are the skills, so that you know these are the boundaries. You have to protect yourself and your client too when you're working, and you have to be non-judgmental because you are the only person. If someone trusts you because they know that you're not going to judge them, that's the basic. You have to be passive listener. That you have to be empathy. First one, you don't have to be. You can't give sympathy. You have to be empathetic. Like you put them in their shoes, and then take the decisions. So these are some skills.
Because if you be in sympathy, you would feel like, oh, this is so bad going back.
Yeah, because
within-
you
then
can't really
that's so much
cry. You can't really cry with them when they are
Even
crying.
if you want to. Sometimes they would do
Yeah,
instances,
you
right?
do, but if you cry, then you can't really help them. So you have to be empathetic so that you put them in your shoes so that you can help them better. This thing was taught my teacher when I was doing my internship. So my sir taught me this. Like you have to be empathetic, you have to be relatable to the client. Even for example, they came to you with something. You don't even do that stuff. But you just say like, oh, I have also done that. That's okay. because it gives them some confidence. So
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And what have you learned about, especially what have you learned about people and mental health through this whole work? Like you have worked with children, you have worked with teenagers, you have worked with maybe elder people. What's the highest age number group have you worked
I
with?
did work as sport worker with elder, but not for a very long time.
That's
So
possible. What's the minimum and the maximum age you have worked with?
I think 52. She was 52, the ones I had worked with.
And the minimum?
8 years. 8 years.
What have you learned in this whole journey?
That helping people is really great. You feel really good.
But
when
tough.
you- It is, but because I have always loved it, I have always been so enthused for this, so I don't mind. And sometimes you feel a lot of challenges, like especially with older people. Like you can't encourage them to do stuff because they
won't
won't
listen
do
to you.
it. Yeah, they won't do it. So that's the hardest part.
You cannot encourage them, you can only convince them, technically.
You can't really.
Do you? Ah, is it?
It's hard. Like for kids, you can still bribe them, I would say.
Hey,
Like bribe in the sense with food.
oh, okay.
Like I
Okay.
used to do with one, like I'm like, I'll get you McDonald's.
Ah,
Look, if you want to do this, if you do this. So even if I'm putting that thing for them, but they're still learning it. They won't every time do it for McDonald's, of course. They'll still do it.
sometimes angry jokes, sometimes with audience.
No, they'll still do it. But with older people, it's hard. But I've just learned like that it's okay. And even sometimes I might have some mental health issues. And every psychologist has a psychologist. That's a term, yes.
Okay.
So they also need to go and discuss.
Have you ever or multiple times?
I have taken therapy myself. When I was studying, I
Mhm.
did take therapy and it made me feel a lot better. Because people don't really have time to talk to you or listen to you, and especially when you are alone living in a country where you don't know anyone, you do need. And I feel that people should go for therapy. People should take therapy. If they think they need help, they should take it.
How is the demand right now in the market for mental health workers?
I think it's a lot. It is because I have been seeing people and I have talked to some social workers who are working in organization that they don't have psychologists at the moment. And when they have some clients who need therapy, they don't really have it. So it's really in demand, like because people have been suffering, there have been issues. So it's a lot in demand. So that's why I want to pursue my further study and then just practice it as much as I can.
And that's a kind of a personal question if you want to discuss.
Yeah.
What's the biggest lesson you learned through this job that about your own life?
I have just learned to manage my emotions better. Like it I have learned a lot from people I work with. Sometimes they put a very positive impact on me. I sometimes, if I'm sad, if I'm with them, I'm more happier. And so the biggest lesson for me is only that I have learned better to manage my emotions. First, I used to just lose my emotions a lot, but and it has made me more non-judgmental, and I have been more open to listen to people now. And I do have some people in my life, they just come to me just to talk to me, like just to talk, like let their emotions out. So that makes me feel happy that this because I always wanted to be like this, because I know how hard it feels when you can't talk to someone. So, and people then judge you. So this is my like biggest lesson, and I like that. So that's my biggest learning for me.
I would say if I would be at your place, my biggest learning would be, or my biggest lesson would be, I'm thankful of how my things, the mental everything is working, first of all, because there are
Yeah.
people who didn't get that privilege initially.
It can be
then
said,
later.
yeah.
Um,
And that's what a positive thing is. Like you see them and you feel like, oh, this person is still happy with these things and I'm helping them out. But sometimes I'm not. So they help you. Even you are helping them, but they don't do anything, they still help you. So
if you could go back into time, first year of your university, would you still choose this?
yes, always. I like that.
I really want to say it's not related to podcast, but I as a brother, we would say, or I as a friend. I'm really proud of you that you're doing it.
No one said me that.
And literally, you're doing it's sometimes people do it only for money, but I can see that the way you're explaining it, it looks like it comes from your heart to
Yeah.
help people and help, especially children.
Yeah.
Or another. So, like literally,
Just-
on the behalf of all those children and the people, thank you so much for
Yeah,
helping.
just wish me I get more further in this
Yes.
career.
Done.
That's what I want to
100%.
do.
You will. And I wish you would come back and see in this podcast. Oh, that's how look, children. That's me.
Nah, I wish I would love every those children I'm helping right now if I'm working with. I'm so connected to them. I would see them like just growing, thriving. That would make me so happy.
Yeah.
I just feel like. I would say like people should go take therapy, should take help if they think they want to. They shouldn't like sit there by self and like, no, I don't want it. Just go out
Consider it.
and
At least consider it
just
once.
go and take it. Yeah. I have taken myself and I know it changes
Do you
you.
think it's required for me from my face?
Not from you know it much better. Like I
Uh,
can that's the most misconception about psychologists, you know.
Read
Like,
my face.
Read my face, read my mind. No, sorry, I can't do that. But if you talk to me, I can. Like if you talk to me, I can.
After
But
camera.
yeah.
And
So
okay, before ending, first of all, thank you so much. Then before ending, I have this kind of questions. And I always put this on all the podcasts. It's kind of my own thing.
Yeah.
Rapid fire round. Right?
oh, okay.
Empathy or resilience?
Empathy,
Degree or experience?
experience,
Introvert or extrovert?
introvert,
Most underrated skill in mental health?
underrated. How do you say underrated? Like most underrated skill.
I would say from your knowledge, what I learned from your side is most underrated would be having a emergency contact number, like your own personal emergency contact number, because you sometimes you need
Really?
like as an ambulance or a police or something, you need external help.
Maybe. I've never really thought about it, so I'm not sure.
Biggest misconception about psychology.
I just told you. Can you read my face? Can you read my brain? Do you know what's happening?
Most rewarding part of your job.
Oh, that you have helped someone to have some positive change that just makes you happy and they appreciate you for it. So,
Mental health work in one word.
peace for me.
I love this podcast. Trust me. Okay. Don't want to get emotional, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you
I'm
for
literally-
calling me.
You literally helped, I believe, so many people who want to pursue this field.
I
They can
hope so. I don't have a lot of knowledge about this, but I just share what I experienced.
Yeah.
So,
And if you have anything, you can please, comment in the
Yeah.
comment section and we can learn more.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with it, I would love to share your Instagram or any contact so that if they have any questions, they can directly DM if you're okay with it. Otherwise, they can comment down there and then you can
yeah,
reply
you can
in comment.
spin my Instagram.
Yeah, I can if you're okay with it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll give
Yeah.
the link in the description. And if you want her to come back and want to talk more about the study perspective of psychology, because today we are talking about the mainly job role, which is mental health support worker. So let us know. This caps lock group, just group, right?
It's just Noor.
It's Noor. Sorry, mom.
Oh my god.
It's my accountant name. This Noor caps lock. See you guys in the next video.
Bye. Thank you.